Since humanity first began exploring space, we've captured images that have expanded our understanding of the universe while simultaneously deepening its mysteries. Telescopes like Hubble, space probes sent to distant planets, and rovers on alien worlds have transmitted back photographs that challenge our comprehension, defy explanation, and sometimes suggest possibilities that seem almost too extraordinary to believe. These aren't artists' renderings or computer simulations. These are real photographs, captured by sophisticated scientific instruments, showing genuine phenomena occurring in the vast expanse of space. Some of these images have been partially explained by scientists, though questions remain. Others continue to baffle researchers decades after they were first captured, and a few suggest the existence of things we don't yet understand and may not be ready to accept. Today, we're exploring 10 of the most mysterious photographs ever taken in space. These are images that have puzzled scientists, sparked intense debate, and forced us to reconsider what we think we know about the universe. From unexplained structures on distant moons, to anomalies that seem to defy the laws of physics, from potential evidence of extraterrestrial activity to cosmic phenomena that challenge our understanding of reality itself. These photographs represent some of the deepest mysteries in space exploration. Let's begin our countdown with number 10. Number 10. The Face on Mars. In 1976, NASA's Viking 1 orbiter was photographing the Cydonia region of Mars when it captured an image that would become one of the most controversial photographs in space exploration history. The image shows what appears to be a massive human face carved into the Martian surface, staring up at the sky with clearly defined eyes, nose, and mouth. The face on Mars, as it became known, measures approximately 3 kilometers long and is located in a region filled with mesa-like formations. But this particular formation is different. It has symmetry. It has features that look unmistakably facial, and it's positioned in a way that makes it appear to be deliberately gazing upward. When NASA released the image, they described it as a trick of light and shadow, suggesting that the face-like appearance was simply pareidolia, the human tendency to see faces in random patterns. But many people weren't convinced. The symmetry seemed too perfect, the features seemed too defined, and the location, in a region that some researchers claimed showed other anomalous structures, seemed too coincidental. Researchers and enthusiasts began analyzing the image in detail. Some claimed to see additional structures nearby, including what they called pyramids and a city. They argued that the face on Mars was evidence of an ancient Martian civilization, that it was a monument or sculpture created by intelligent beings millions of years ago. The controversy intensified when some researchers claimed that the face showed features consistent with both human and feline characteristics, suggesting it might be a sphinx-like structure. They pointed to measurements and proportions that seemed too precise to be natural, and they noted that the face appeared to be aligned with other structures in the region, suggesting deliberate planning and construction. NASA maintained that the face was a natural formation, but they couldn't definitively prove it with the Viking images alone. The resolution wasn't high enough to show fine details, and the lighting conditions created dramatic shadows that enhanced the face-like appearance. The mystery persisted for decades until 1998, when NASA's Mars Global Surveyor captured new, higher-resolution images of the face on Mars. These images, taken from different angles and under different lighting conditions, showed that the face was indeed a natural mesa formation. The facial features that seemed so clear in the Viking image were the result of shadows and low resolution. The new images showed a rocky hill with irregular features that only looked like a face under specific lighting conditions. But here's what's still intriguing about the face on Mars. Even though we now know it's a natural formation, the original Viking image remains one of the most striking examples of pareidolia ever captured. The fact that a random geological formation could so perfectly resemble a human face, complete with symmetrical features and proper proportions, is remarkable in itself. The face on Mars also represents an important lesson about space exploration and interpretation of data. We see what we want to see, especially when dealing with low-resolution images of alien landscapes. Our brains are wired to recognize faces, and when presented with ambiguous visual information, we'll construct faces even where none exist. But the story of the face on Mars also reminds us of humanity's deep desire to find evidence of other intelligent life in the universe. The fact that so many people wanted to believe the face was artificial, that it was evidence of an ancient Martian civilization, speaks to our loneliness in the cosmos and our hope that we're not alone. Number 9. The Black Knight Satellite. In 1960, a mysterious object was detected in polar orbit around Earth. This was significant because at the time, no country had the technology to launch satellites into polar orbit. The United States and Soviet Union were both launching satellites, but they were all in equatorial orbits. So what was this object, and where did it come from? The object became known as the Black Knight Satellite, and over the decades, it has become one of the most enduring mysteries in space exploration. Numerous photographs have been taken of objects that believers claim are the Black Knight, and the mystery has spawned countless theories about its origin and purpose. The most famous photograph associated with the Black Knight was taken in 1998 during the STS-88 mission, the first space shuttle mission to the International Space Station. The image shows a dark, irregularly shaped object floating in space near the shuttle. The object appears to be artificial, with what look like panels or structural elements, and it's clearly not a natural space rock. When this image was released, it reignited interest in the Black Knight legend. Believers pointed to it as proof that an alien satellite has been orbiting Earth for decades, possibly for centuries. They connected it to various historical reports of unusual objects in space, including claims by Nikola Tesla that he had detected intelligent signals from space in 1899. The Black Knight theory suggests that this satellite is of extraterrestrial origin, that it's been monitoring Earth for thousands of years, and that governments have been aware of its existence but have kept it secret. Some versions of the theory claim that the satellite is 13,000 years old and originates from a star system called Epsilon Botis. But here's what NASA says about the 1998 photograph. The object is a thermal blanket that was accidentally lost during an EVA, spacewalk, while the crew was working on the International Space Station. The blanket drifted away and was photographed before it eventually burned up in Earth's atmosphere. NASA has documentation of the lost thermal blanket, and the timing matches perfectly with when the photograph was taken. The shape and appearance of the object in the photo are consistent with a thermal blanket tumbling in space, and subsequent analysis of the image confirms that it's a piece of space debris, not an artificial satellite. So the mystery is solved, right? Well, not for everyone. Believers in the Black Knight theory argue that NASA is covering up the truth, that the thermal blanket explanation is a convenient excuse to explain away evidence of extraterrestrial surveillance. They point to the earlier reports of unusual objects in polar orbit and claim that the 1998 photo is just one piece of a larger puzzle. What makes the Black Knight satellite intriguing as a mystery is how it's evolved over time. The original 1960 detection of an object in polar orbit was real, but it was later identified as debris from a US satellite. Various other sightings and reports over the years have been attributed to different objects, space debris, satellites, and natural phenomena. But believers have woven all these separate incidents into a single narrative about an alien satellite. The Black Knight represents a phenomenon common in space mysteries, the tendency to connect unrelated events into a coherent story that supports a desired conclusion. It's a reminder that we should be careful about accepting explanations that seem to confirm what we want to believe, and that we should examine evidence critically rather than selectively. Number 8. The hexagon on Saturn. In 1981, NASA's Voyager spacecraft captured images of Saturn's North Pole that revealed something completely unexpected: a massive, perfectly hexagonal storm system. The hexagon measures approximately 30,000 kilometers across, which means you could fit 4 Earths inside it. And it's been continuously rotating at Saturn's North Pole for decades, possibly for centuries. The hexagon is composed of a jet stream with winds reaching speeds of over 300 kilometers per hour. But here's what makes it truly mysterious. Hexagons don't occur naturally in fluid dynamics. When you have rotating fluids or gases, you typically get circular or spiral patterns. You don't get perfect six-sided geometric shapes. Yet there it is, a massive hexagon at Saturn's North Pole, clearly visible in multiple photographs taken over decades. When the Cassini spacecraft arrived at Saturn in 2004, it captured even more detailed images of the hexagon. These images confirmed that the structure was still there, still perfectly hexagonal, still rotating. The new images also revealed that the hexagon extends deep into Saturn's atmosphere, and that there's a massive hurricane-like storm at the exact center of the hexagon. Scientists have struggled to explain how this hexagon forms and maintains its shape. The leading theory involves standing wave patterns in Saturn's jet streams, where specific atmospheric conditions create a stable six-sided wave pattern. Laboratory experiments have successfully created small-scale hexagonal patterns in rotating fluids, which supports this theory. But here's what's still mysterious. Why a hexagon specifically? Why not a pentagon or an octagon? Why is the shape so perfectly regular? And how has it maintained its structure for so long? Saturn's atmosphere is incredibly turbulent, with storms and winds constantly changing. Yet this hexagon has remained stable for at least 40 years, and possibly much longer. Some researchers have noted that the hexagon appears to change color with Saturn's seasons, shifting from blue to gold as the planet's northern hemisphere transitions from winter to summer. This suggests that the hexagon is affected by seasonal changes in sunlight and atmospheric chemistry. But it doesn't explain why the hexagonal shape persists through these changes. The hexagon has also sparked speculation beyond scientific circles. Some people have pointed to it as evidence of artificial structures or geometric patterns that suggest intelligent design. They note that hexagons are common in human engineering and architecture because they're efficient shapes for packing and structure. Could the Saturn hexagon be evidence of some kind of massive artificial structure or technology? Scientists dismiss these ideas, pointing out that the hexagon is clearly composed of atmospheric gases and follows patterns consistent with natural atmospheric phenomena. But the fact remains that it's one of the most geometrically perfect natural structures ever observed in the solar system. The Saturn hexagon reminds us that nature is capable of creating structures that seem almost impossibly regular and geometric. It challenges our assumptions about what natural phenomena should look like, and it demonstrates that there are still atmospheric processes we don't fully understand, even in our own solar system. Number 7. Iapetus's equatorial ridge. Iapetus is the third largest moon of Saturn, and it's one of the strangest objects in our solar system. When NASA's Cassini spacecraft captured detailed images of Iapetus in 2004 and 2007, scientists were stunned by what they saw. A massive ridge running almost perfectly along the moon's equator, making it look like a walnut or the Death Star from Star Wars. The equatorial ridge on Iapetus is extraordinary in every way. It's approximately 1,300 kilometers long, 20 kilometers wide, and reaches heights of up to 20 kilometers, more than twice the height of Mount Everest. The ridge runs almost exactly along the moon's equator, deviating by no more than a few degrees, and it exists nowhere else on the moon, just along the equator, as if someone drew a line around the middle of Iapetus and built a mountain range on it. When the first high-resolution images were released, they caused immediate speculation. The ridge is so geometrically perfect, so precisely aligned with the equator, that it looks artificial. It looks like something that was built rather than something that formed naturally. Scientists have struggled to explain how such a structure could form. One theory suggests the ridge formed when Iapetus was spinning much faster in its early history. The rapid rotation would have caused the moon to bulge at the equator, and when it slowed down, the bulge solidified into the ridge. But the ridge is too tall and too narrow to be simply a frozen equatorial bulge. Another theory proposes that the ridge is the remains of a ring system that once orbited Iapetus. Debris orbiting the moon gradually fell onto its surface, accumulating along the equator and building up the ridge over millions of years. But the ridge appears to be made of the same material as the rest of Iapetus's surface, not the kind of debris you'd expect from a collapsed ring system. A third theory suggests the ridge formed through tectonic activity, with forces inside Iapetus pushing material upward along the equator. But Iapetus is a small, cold moon that shouldn't have enough internal heat to drive such dramatic tectonic activity. What makes the ridge even more mysterious is its age. Parts of the ridge are heavily cratered, suggesting they're very old, perhaps as old as Iapetus itself, over 4 billion years. But other parts appear relatively smooth and young. The ridge also has an unusual structure. It's not a single continuous mountain range, but rather a series of peaks and segments. The photographs of Iapetus's equatorial ridge have become some of the most discussed images in planetary science. Even knowing it must be natural, it's hard to look at the ridge and not think it looks like something that was built. The ridge has inspired science fiction writers and fueled speculation about ancient alien civilizations. But the reality is that the equatorial ridge is almost certainly natural, formed by processes we don't yet fully understand. And that makes it even more fascinating. Nature created a structure so geometrically perfect, so precisely aligned, and so visually striking that it looks artificial. The mystery of Iapetus's equatorial ridge remains unsolved. Scientists continue to study the Cassini images, and researchers debate various theories. But no single explanation accounts for all the ridge's characteristics. It's a mountain range that shouldn't exist, aligned with impossible precision, rising to heights that challenge our understanding of how moons evolve over time. Number 6. The mysterious lights on Ceres. Ceres is a dwarf planet located in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. It's the largest object in the asteroid belt, and for most of history, it was just a point of light in telescopes, too distant and too small to reveal any details. But in 2015, NASA's Dawn spacecraft arrived at Ceres and began sending back detailed photographs of its surface. What those photographs revealed was completely unexpected. The images showed numerous bright spots on Ceres's surface, with the most prominent being a cluster of extremely bright lights in a crater called a crater. These lights were so bright that they overexposed the spacecraft's cameras when viewed directly. They stood out dramatically against the dark surface of Ceres, and they immediately sparked intense speculation about their nature and origin. The bright spots appeared to be reflective, catching sunlight and shining brilliantly. But what were they? Some researchers immediately suggested they might be ice deposits. Others thought they could be salt deposits left behind by subsurface water that had evaporated. And some people inevitably suggested they might be artificial lights, evidence of structures or activity on Ceres. As dawn got closer and captured higher resolution images, the mystery deepened. The bright spots weren't just random reflections. They appeared to be concentrated in specific areas, particularly in crater floors. The brightest cluster in Alcator crater showed multiple distinct bright spots arranged in a pattern. And spectroscopic analysis revealed that the spots were composed of sodium carbonate, a type of salt. Scientists eventually concluded that the bright spots are deposits of sodium carbonate and other salts that were left behind when briny water from Ceres's subsurface reached the surface and evaporated. This suggests that Ceres has, or had, a subsurface ocean of salty water, and that this water occasionally reaches the surface through cracks and vents. But here's what's still mysterious about the bright spots. They're much brighter than they should be. Even accounting for the reflectivity of salt deposits, the spots are extraordinarily bright. Some of them appear to be actively changing, with brightness variations that suggest ongoing geological activity. And the patterns in which they're arranged, particularly in Alcator crater, seem almost too regular to be entirely natural. Some researchers have noted that the bright spots appear to be associated with a mountain in the center of Alcator crater, and that this mountain might be a cryovolcano, a volcano that erupts ice and water instead of lava. If this is true, then Ceres might be geologically active, with subsurface water periodically erupting onto the surface and leaving behind salt deposits. The implications of this are significant. If Ceres has liquid water beneath its surface, it might be capable of supporting life. The combination of water, organic compounds, which have also been detected on Ceres, and energy from geological activity creates conditions that could, potentially, allow for microbial life. But the mystery of the bright spots goes beyond their composition. Why are they so bright? Why are they arranged in specific patterns? Why do some of them appear to change over time? And what does their existence tell us about Ceres's interior and its potential for harboring life? The photographs of Ceres's bright spots have become some of the most intriguing images in recent space exploration. They show a world that's far more complex and active than anyone expected, with ongoing geological processes and potential subsurface oceans. And they remind us that even in our own solar system, there are worlds we barely understand, with mysteries waiting to be solved. Number 5. The Pillars of Creation's Hidden Secrets. The Pillars of Creation, photographed by the Hubble Space Telescope in 1995, and again in 2014, is one of the most iconic images in astronomy. The photograph shows towering columns of interstellar gas and dust in the Eagle Nebula, approximately 7,000 light-years from Earth. The pillars are star-forming regions, where new stars are being born from the dense clouds of material. But while the image itself is famous and widely recognized, what makes it truly mysterious are the things we've discovered hidden within it. When astronomers analyze the image in detail, particularly the 2014 high-resolution version. They found numerous anomalies and unexplained phenomena that challenge our understanding of star formation and nebular dynamics. First, there are the eggs, evaporating gaseous globules. These are dense knots of gas within the pillars where stars are forming. But some of these eggs show unusual characteristics. They're being eroded by radiation from nearby massive stars, but the rate of erosion doesn't match theoretical predictions. Some EGGs are disappearing faster than they should, while others are persisting longer than expected. Second, there are strange jet-like structures emerging from some of the EGGs. These jets appear to be material being ejected by forming stars, but their shapes and trajectories are unusual. Some jets appear to be bent or curved in ways that don't match our models of stellar jets. Others show knots and irregularities that suggest complex interactions we don't fully understand. Third, and most mysteriously, there are regions of the pillars that appear to be glowing with light that doesn't come from any visible source. These regions are illuminated, but when astronomers trace back the light, they can't identify what's causing the illumination. It's as if there are hidden stars or other light sources embedded deep within the pillars, invisible to our telescopes, but casting light on the surrounding gas. In 2007, astronomers using the Spitzer Space Telescope discovered something even more surprising. The pillars of creation might already be destroyed. Spitzer detected evidence of a supernova shockwave that passed through the Eagle Nebula approximately 6,000 years ago. This shockwave would have obliterated the pillars, but because the nebula is 7,000 light-years away, we're seeing light that left the nebula 7,000 years ago before the shockwave arrived. The pillars we see in the Hubble images might no longer exist. They might have been destroyed 1,000 years ago, but we won't see that destruction for another 1,000 years. This raises profound questions about the nature of observation and reality. When we look at the pillars of creation, are we looking at something real, or are we looking at a ghost, an image of something that no longer exists? And if the pillars are already destroyed, what does that mean for the stars that were forming within them? Were they destroyed before they could fully form, or did they survive the shockwave? But beyond these philosophical questions, there are genuine scientific mysteries in the pillars of creation images. The complex structures, the unusual jets, the unexplained illumination, and the dynamics of star formation in such a dense environment all challenge our understanding. The pillars are not just beautiful, they're deeply mysterious, full of phenomena that we're still trying to understand. Recent analysis of the 2014 images has revealed even more details. There are filaments and structures at scales we couldn't see before. There are regions of different densities and temperatures that don't match our models. And there are hints of magnetic fields and other forces shaping the pillars in ways we didn't expect. The pillars of creation remind us that even the most famous and well-studied objects in space can hold secrets. They remind us that our understanding of cosmic processes is still incomplete. And they remind us that sometimes, the most beautiful images in astronomy are also the most mysterious. Number 4. The Tabby Star Anomaly. In 2015, astronomers analyzing data from NASA's Kepler Space Telescope noticed something extremely unusual about a star called KIC 8462852, located approximately 1,400 light-years from Earth. The star, which became known as Tabby Star after astronomer Tabitha Boyajian, who led the research, was showing bizarre dimming patterns unlike anything ever observed before. Most stars show regular, predictable variations in brightness. When a planet passes in front of a star, it causes a small, regular dip in the star's light. This is how we detect exoplanets. But Tabby's star was different. It showed irregular, dramatic dips in brightness, sometimes dimming by up to 22%. No known planet could cause such a dramatic dimming, and the pattern was completely irregular and unpredictable. Photographs and light curves of Tabby's star show these dramatic dips occurring at random intervals. Sometimes the star would dim slightly, sometimes dramatically. Sometimes the dimming would last for days, sometimes for weeks, and the pattern showed no regularity or predictability. It was as if something massive was periodically passing in front of the star, blocking its light. But whatever it wasn't following any orbital pattern. Scientists proposed various explanations. Maybe it was a swarm of comets. Maybe it was debris from a planetary collision. Maybe it was dust clouds or some other natural phenomenon. But none of these explanations fit the data perfectly. The dimming was too dramatic and too irregular to be easily explained by any known natural process. And then, inevitably, someone proposed a more exotic explanation. What if the dimming was caused by an artificial structure? What if an advanced alien civilization had built a massive structure around the star to collect its energy? A concept known as a Dyson sphere or Dyson swarm. Such a structure would cause exactly the kind of irregular, dramatic dimming that Tabby's star was showing. This explanation, while speculative, couldn't be easily dismissed. The dimming pattern was consistent with what you'd expect from a partially completed megastructure being built around a star. And SETI researchers began pointing radio telescopes at Tabby's star, searching for any signals that might indicate intelligent activity. But here's what makes Tabby's star even more mysterious. Analysis of historical data showed that the star has been gradually dimming over the past century. Photographic plates from the late 1800s show the star was brighter then than it is now. It's been losing about 16% of its brightness over the past 100 years. No known natural process can explain this long-term dimming. More recent observations have provided some clues but haven't definitively solved the mystery. Spectroscopic analysis suggests that the dimming might be caused by dust rather than solid objects, which would argue against the megastructure hypothesis. But the dust would need to have very specific properties to cause the observed dimming pattern, and it's not clear where such dust would come from or why it would be arranged around the star in such an unusual way. Some researchers have proposed that Tabby's star might have recently passed through a dust cloud, or that it might be surrounded by the debris of a destroyed planet. Others suggest that the star itself might be undergoing unusual internal processes that cause the irregular dimming. But none of these explanations fully account for all the observed data. The photographs and data from Tabby's star represent one of the most intriguing mysteries in modern astronomy. While the alien megastructure explanation is considered unlikely by most scientists, the fact that it can't be completely ruled out makes this one of the few cases where we're seriously considering the possibility of detecting evidence of an advanced extraterrestrial civilization. Tabby's star reminds us that the universe is full of phenomena we don't understand. It reminds us that our models and theories, while useful, are incomplete. And it reminds us that sometimes the most extraordinary explanations, while unlikely, cannot be completely dismissed until we have better data and better understanding. Number 3. The lunar wave phenomenon. In recent years, amateur astronomers filming the moon have captured something extraordinary and completely unexplained. Multiple independent observers, using different equipment in different locations, have recorded what appears to be a wave or ripple passing across the face of the moon. The phenomenon, known as the lunar wave, appears as a distortion that travels across the lunar surface, lasting for a fraction of a second before disappearing. The videos showing the lunar wave are genuinely puzzling. They show the moon's surface appearing normal, then suddenly a wave-like distortion passes across it, causing the features to shift or ripple before returning to normal. The effect looks similar to a heat shimmer, or the distortion you see when looking through moving water, but it's occurring in the vacuum of space where no such atmospheric effects should be possible. Multiple observers have captured this phenomenon, and the videos are remarkably consistent. The wave always moves in a specific direction across the moon's face. It always lasts for a very brief period, and it always causes the same type of visual distortion. This consistency across multiple independent observations suggests that something real is happening, not just camera artifacts or observer error. But here's what makes the lunar wave truly mysterious. There's no accepted scientific explanation for what could cause it. The moon has no atmosphere, so atmospheric distortion is impossible. The wave doesn't correspond to any known seismic activity on the moon, and it doesn't match any predicted effects from solar radiation, magnetic fields, or other known phenomena. Some researchers have suggested that the lunar wave might be caused by distortions in Earth's atmosphere between the observer and the moon. But this explanation has problems. The wave appears the same to observers in different locations with different atmospheric conditions, and the wave moves across the moon's surface in a way that's inconsistent with atmospheric distortion, which would affect the entire visible face of the moon simultaneously. Others have proposed that the lunar wave might be an optical effect caused by the camera or telescope equipment. But again, this doesn't explain why multiple observers using different equipment see the same phenomenon. And the wave shows characteristics that are inconsistent with known optical artifacts. More exotic explanations have been proposed. Some researchers suggest that the lunar wave might be evidence of a holographic projection, that the moon we see might not be entirely real or might be overlaid with some kind of artificial image. This theory, while far-fetched, attempts to explain why a wave-like distortion would pass across what should be a solid, unchanging surface. Others have suggested that the lunar wave might be related to gravitational effects, perhaps from passing asteroids or other massive objects that briefly distort space-time in a way that affects how we see the moon. But the mathematics of such effects don't support this explanation. Any gravitational distortion strong enough to cause visible effects would be detectable by other means and would cause much more dramatic phenomena. The lunar wave remains one of the most puzzling recent phenomena in amateur astronomy. It's been captured on video multiple times by credible observers. The videos show consistent characteristics across different observations, and yet there's no accepted explanation for what's causing it. What makes this mystery particularly intriguing is that it's ongoing and observable. Unlike many space mysteries that involve distant objects or one-time events, the lunar wave can potentially be studied by anyone with a telescope and camera. Amateur astronomers continue to monitor the moon, hoping to capture more examples of the phenomenon and gather data that might lead to an explanation. The lunar wave reminds us that even our closest celestial neighbor, an object we've studied for centuries and even visited with human astronauts, can still surprise us with unexplained phenomena. It reminds us that observation and documentation are crucial in science, and that sometimes the most important discoveries come from amateur observers who notice things that professionals might miss. Number 2. The Oumuamua Anomaly. In October 2017, astronomers detected an object passing through our solar system that would become one of the most controversial and mysterious discoveries in recent astronomy. The object, named Oumuamua, Hawaiian for scout or messenger, was the first confirmed interstellar object ever detected passing through our solar system. But it wasn't just its interstellar origin that made it mysterious. It was its bizarre characteristics and behavior that defied explanation. Photographs and observations of Oumuamua revealed an object unlike anything we'd seen before. It was extremely elongated, with a length-to-width ratio of at least 10:1, making it look like a cigar or needle. It was tumbling through space in a complex rotation. And most mysteriously, it was accelerating as it left the solar system in a way that couldn't be explained by the sun's gravity alone. The acceleration was the key mystery. When objects pass through the solar system, they follow predictable paths determined by gravity. Comets can show non-gravitational acceleration because they release gas as they heat up, creating a rocket-like effect. But Oumuamua showed no signs of outgassing, no tail, no coma, no detectable release of gas or dust. Yet, it was accelerating. Scientists proposed various explanations. Maybe Oumuamua was releasing gas that was too faint to detect. Maybe it was made of unusual materials that behaved differently than expected. Maybe it was a fragment of a planet destroyed in another star system. But none of these explanations fully accounted for all of Oumuamua's strange characteristics. Then, in 2018, Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb proposed a more controversial explanation. What if Oumuamua was artificial? What if it was a light sail, a thin reflective sheet designed to be pushed by starlight, sent by an alien civilization to explore other star systems? This would explain the unusual shape, the strange acceleration, and the lack of outgassing. Loeb's proposal was met with skepticism by most of the scientific community. The idea that Oumuamua might be an alien probe seemed too extraordinary, and most scientists preferred to search for natural explanations. But Loeb pointed out that the artificial explanation actually fit the data better than any proposed natural explanation. The debate over Oumuamua's nature continues. Some scientists have proposed that it might be a hydrogen iceberg, a chunk of frozen hydrogen that would release gas too faint to detect, but could still cause acceleration. Others suggest it might be a fragment of a planet that was torn apart by tidal forces. And some continue to argue that the artificial explanation, while unlikely, cannot be completely ruled out. What makes Oumuamua particularly frustrating as a mystery is that we'll never get another chance to study it. The object passed through our solar system quickly, and by the time we realized how unusual it was already leaving. We couldn't send a probe to intercept it. We couldn't get close-up photographs. We could only observe it from a distance as it tumbled away into interstellar space. The photographs and data we have of Oumuamua are limited. We never got a clear image of its shape. The elongated cigar shape is inferred from how its brightness changed as it rotated. We never detected its composition with certainty. We never determined definitively what caused its acceleration. And now it's gone, leaving us with more questions than answers. Oumuamua reminds us that the universe can surprise us with objects and phenomena we never anticipated. It reminds us that our solar system is not isolated, that objects from other star systems can and do pass through. And it reminds us that sometimes, the most extraordinary explanations, while unlikely, deserve serious consideration when conventional explanations fail to account for the data. Whether Oumuamua was a natural object with unusual properties or something artificial, it represents a genuine mystery, and it's a mystery that will likely never be fully solved, because the object that could provide answers is now millions of kilometers away, forever beyond our reach. Number 1. The WOW Signal Source Region. Deep Space Image. Our number 1 mysterious photo from space brings us back to the WOW signal, but from a different perspective. In recent years, powerful telescopes have captured deep space images of the region where the WOW signal originated, the constellation Sagittarius, specifically the area near the Chi Sagittarii star group. These images reveal something that makes the mystery even deeper. The region where the WOW signal came from is not empty space. Deep space photographs show it's an area rich with stars, nebulae, and potentially thousands of planetary systems. When astronomers have analyzed these images in detail, looking for anything unusual that might explain the signal, they've found both too many possibilities and no clear answers. The images show several sun-like stars in the signal's origin region, any of which could potentially host planets. They show complex nebular structures that could affect radio transmissions in unexpected ways. And they show the dense star fields of our galaxy's center region, where millions of stars cluster together. Somewhere in this cosmic landscape, something generated a powerful radio signal that reached Earth in 1977. What makes these images particularly mysterious is what they don't show. There's no obvious source for the signal, no unusual star, no strange nebula, no visible anomaly that would explain why a powerful radio transmission would come from this specific region. The area looks like countless other regions of space, full of stars and cosmic structures, but nothing that obviously stands out. Some researchers have used these images to calculate the probability of the signal being artificial. If it came from a planet orbiting one of the sun-like stars in the region, the civilization would need to have generated an incredibly powerful transmission for it to reach Earth with the strength it did. We're talking about a transmission millions of times more powerful than anything humanity has ever created. Such a transmission would require enormous energy and advanced technology far beyond our current capabilities. Others have used the images to search for natural explanations. Could the signal have been generated by a pulsar or other exotic astronomical object? Could it have been the result of some unusual interaction between multiple cosmic phenomena? The images show various objects and structures that could potentially generate radio emissions, but none that match the specific characteristics of the WOW signal. Recent high-resolution images of the region, taken with modern telescopes, have revealed even more detail. We can now see individual stars that were just points of light in earlier observations. We can see the structure of nebulae and dust clouds. We can identify potential planetary systems, but we still can't identify what generated the WOW signal. The mystery deepens when you consider the implications of the different possible explanations. If the signal was natural, it represents a phenomenon we don't understand, something that can generate a powerful, narrowband radio transmission that mimics the characteristics of an artificial signal. If the signal was artificial, it represents evidence of a civilization with technology far more advanced than ours, capable of generating transmissions of incredible power. And then there's the question of why the signal hasn't repeated. If it was a natural phenomenon, why did it occur only once in the decades we've been observing that region? If it was artificial, why would a civilization send a single brief transmission and then go silent? Was it a beacon that rotates and only points toward Earth occasionally? Was it a one-time broadcast, perhaps announcing some significant event? Or was it something else entirely? The deep space images of the WOW Signal source region are haunting because they show us both everything and nothing. They show us the cosmic landscape where one of the most intriguing potential signals from an extraterrestrial civilization originated. But they don't show us the source. They don't provide answers. They only deepen the mystery by showing us how vast and complex that region of space is, and how difficult it would be to identify the source of a signal that appeared once and never again. These images represent the ultimate space mystery, evidence of something extraordinary, captured and documented, but never explained or repeated. They show us a region of space that looks ordinary, but might harbor something extraordinary. And they remind us that the universe is full of signals, transmissions, and phenomena that we detect but don't understand. The WOW! Signal source region images are our #1 mysterious photos from space because they represent the intersection of observation, mystery, and possibility. They show us where something remarkable happened, but they can't tell us what it was. They provide context but not answers. And they remind us that sometimes the most important discoveries are the ones that raise questions rather than providing answers. These 10 mysterious photographs from space represent some of the deepest puzzles in astronomy and space exploration. From potential evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence to unexplained natural phenomena, from bizarre cosmic structures to anomalous observations that defy conventional explanation, these images challenge our understanding of the universe and our place within it. What all these photographs have in common is that they force us to confront the limits of our knowledge. Despite our advanced technology, our sophisticated instruments, and our accumulated scientific understanding, there are still things in space that we cannot explain. There are still phenomena that defy our models and theories. There are still mysteries that resist solution. Some of these mysteries will likely be solved as our technology improves and our understanding deepens. The face on Mars was explained with better images. The Black Knight satellite was identified as space debris, and future observations may explain the hexagon on Saturn, the lights on Ceres, or the acceleration of Oumuamua. But other mysteries may persist. The WOW! Signal may never be explained because it never repeated and we can't study its source. The lunar wave may remain mysterious because we don't fully understand what we're observing. And Tabby's star may continue to puzzle us because whatever is causing its dimming is unlike anything we've encountered before. These photographs also remind us of the importance of observation and documentation. Many of these mysteries were discovered not by professional astronomers conducting planned research, but by people carefully examining data, noticing anomalies, and asking questions. The WOW! Signal was found by someone reviewing routine telescope data. Tabby's star was identified by citizen scientists analyzing Kepler data. The lunar wave was captured by amateur astronomers filming the moon. This tells us that discovery is not limited to professionals with access to the most advanced equipment. Sometimes the most important observations come from people who are paying attention, who notice things that seem unusual, and who are willing to document and share what they found. These mysterious photographs also raise profound questions about what we might find as we continue to explore space. If we've found this many mysteries just in our immediate cosmic neighborhood, what will we find as we explore further? What strange phenomena await discovery in distant star systems? What bizarre cosmic structures exist beyond our current observational reach? And what evidence of other civilizations might we eventually find? The search for answers to these mysteries continues. Telescopes become more powerful. Space probes venture to distant worlds. And astronomers continue to analyze data, searching for patterns and explanations. Some mysteries will be solved. Others will deepen, and new mysteries will undoubtedly be discovered. But perhaps the most important lesson from these mysterious space photographs is that the universe is far stranger and more complex than we imagine. Our models and theories, while useful, are incomplete. Our understanding, while growing, is limited. And the cosmos continues to surprise us with phenomena that challenge our assumptions and force us to reconsider what we think we know. These 10 photographs represent moments when the universe revealed something unexpected, something that doesn't fit neatly into our understanding. They are windows into cosmic mysteries, evidence of phenomena we don't fully comprehend, and reminders that despite all our knowledge and technology, we are still explorers in a universe full of wonders and mysteries. As we continue to explore space, to capture more photographs, and to analyze more data, we will undoubtedly encounter more mysteries. Some will be explained, others will persist. but all of them will contribute to our growing understanding of the universe and our place within it. And that is perhaps the greatest value of these mysterious photographs. Not that they provide answers, but that they inspire us to keep searching, keep questioning, and keep exploring the vast cosmic mystery that surrounds us. Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to explore more mysteries that deserve answers, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every case matters. Every story deserves to be told. Thank you for watching. Until the next mystery.